Alright, so we've got the hub lined up with the key, and we've got the pusher on. So let's go ahead and crank this in. What this does is center. We're going to adjust the cover so the seal is centered. We don't want it pushed one way or another. So let's get the bar in. So now we got the bar in there to keep it from turning. Okay. More time here. Tight. Then we'll move the bar over to the other side. Get this nut loosened up and get the tool off. Alright, let's see where we're at here. This is a little bit of a judgment call here to figure out where this has to be, but now the book says put a little sealant on the bolts for the that go into the filler block. I don't know why, because those are blind holes, but we'll do that. Just to say, yep, we did it. Here's another one. Just a little bit of Permatex number 2. sure I put the sealer on this one. I think I did. Yep. Sealer. There. Let's get this line up, screw out. These are real handy. You might have watched the previous video. They're just bolts with the heads cut off. We're getting there. We got the long bolts to go fuel pump boss. And I seem to be missing a hot washer because I can't. It's hard, at least for me, to tell how much I'm tightening with this. So we'll just snug. Barely snug. I'll check the torque on these, but my guess is they're about 15 foot-pounds, which is 180 inch-pounds. So what I'm going to do here is just snug them up, let this gasket sit with the RTV. For a little while, and then I'll go ahead and torque it. So we'll be back. Alright, we're back. We've let this sit for a while. We're going to go ahead and torque it, at least get close. 13 to 17 foot-pounds. So 13 foot-pounds is about 156 inch-pounds. The middle would be 180, so we'll go for that. Some of you folks might notice the hub's off again. Well, the reason is some genius forgot to put the bolts in. Bolts go in from the back. So, that was me. So we pulled that off, but it did its job. It got it centered, so not a big deal. So, go ahead here. I'm going to go to 100 to start with. We're going to do every other one. through them again. And again, we're going to 100. I don't know if I'm getting my fat head in the way or not here. Alright, that's 100. I'm not so sure I'm going to go to 180. That's pretty tight. That's as tight as I would have probably done them by hand. We'll go a little more, about 125, and I think we'll call it a day here. Let's see. The gasket isn't squeezing out, so, well, you've seen how it torqued. So we'll come back when we're ready to put the hub back on. So to close out the oil pan and front cover segment, I know I've jumped over a little bit, but all the torquing is done on the cover, and the front hub is on with the bolts, and I've got all that taped off. I've got the valley cover, which is already painted, taped off. Valve trains taped off. The block is all cleaned up, reasonably cleaned up, degreased definitely, with the exception of doing the tops of the heads right there over the exhaust ports. I need to do those. I did get the freeze plugs in, so they're in. Permatex number 2 used on those. The oil pan, which had already been painted, it's wrapped up, so I'll get a bunch of overspray on it. So that's all ready to go. Over here in the back, don't want to get paint on the mating surface between the bell housing and the engine, so I've got that taped off too. And I did not want to take off the throttle linkage, because to do that you got to loosen the head bolt, and so I've taped that all off. So it won't be perfect, but the car is not perfect. So that's all ready. I'm hoping that Saturday it'll be warm enough to roll it out, give it a coat, roll it back in the basement, and just do it that way. I thought about using Pora 15. I've got some Pora 15 engine paint that I've used, and I like it a lot, but there's a lot of smell to it, and since I'm working down in the basement, I don't want to end up smelling up the house, so I don't want to spray or paint that Pora 15 engine paint. So that's the end of that, but we're getting ready to embark on a new phase of the project, so stay tuned for that.